Hi. Oh, you did? Okay. But I need you to share. Oh, hold on. Yeah, hold on one second. Let me just look right now. Yeah. Yeah, well, access it, copy it, and put it on your desktop. I'll copy it. Yeah. I'm going to do it for you and send it to you. All right. Yeah, bye. Okay, let's see.
Denise, I'll be right there. I forgot. I thought it was here. Bye.
Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Sue Dillon, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
There we go.
All right,
I'm having my technological challenges tonight.
that's okay. Why won't this print? Print it. Town clerk.
Sue, we don't have name tags? Okay, I just didn't know if there was some place I needed to put them up. Thank you. Yeah. I'm going to wait a couple of minutes. We're having some technical difficulties before we start the meeting. So we'll be a couple of minutes. Thank you.
Restart, shut it down, restart.
He is connected before. He's connected to Wi-Fi.
Now it's gonna update. That's way more. That's special.
Okay.
We'll be careful. Okay. I guess it's good.
There you go.
Is it working?
Let's try it.
Oh, good.
Denise, how many people do you have there?
I have not seeing the council, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, about 17.
Okay, we have 23.
Okay. And I'm just waiting for Heidi. She went to make copies of the agenda for people.
Okay,
Chris is trying to log on.
all right.
So Denise.
Yes. I went into the Secretary of State's website.
The agenda is posted right in.
Go to, and then I went to the Secretary of State's website. Or you know what, you can go to the recent town website.
Denise,
Yes.
isn't the agenda in Sugar Sync?
No,
Yeah, it is.
no. Everybody's gone into Sugar Sync and it's not there.
It's Town Council Meeting Agenda 2020-1. It's in there.
Yeah, the average. You know, again, I don't know.
Yeah.
sure. It's the, oh gosh, it's the fourth one from the bottom.
Oh, it is. I got on. So
It's not.
Hey, Cal, I'm going to share my screen with you. See if you can pull it up. Okay, go ahead, try.
As soon as the friend gets off.
do I have 3 people on the screen?
Hold on.
No.
I need 3 people. I need 3 people on the screen to get on.
So I have to go to the Secretary of State.
Yes.
because we don't have the-
Sue says it's in Sugar Sync, but
It's in Sugar Sync. It's the fourth from the bottom.
fourth from the bottom in Sugar Sync.
It isn't. We have a bunch of minutes.
Yes, it says town council. It's 1, 2. It's in mine. It's the fourth one up. Town council 910-.
Secretary of State. If I can get just 3 people on, I can start this meeting.
I'm gonna be.
Okay.
No? Hold on.
I'm sitting there going,
I was talked to that 3 times. I said, first meeting's at the town hall. I mean, on Zoom. Second one's Paine.
it's okay. We're in the health issue.
I'm in.
Okay. So can you let Chris in?
He's in.
Okay.
And I just clicked on to join.
And is Heidi on?
Not yet. I just clicked on to join, so she should be letting me in.
Heidi's coming in now.
Okay, so I have 3 people,
I'll be right there.
and Cheryl and Bob will be coming in a minute.
And you joined with audio.
Yes, I joined with audio. Everybody else should be on mute.
Mhm.
All you're gonna do is hit the mute button up on the left.
Heidi, did you find the agenda?
No. Hold on 1 second. So where am I going to?
The agenda's at the bottom.
It's at the bottom, fourth go up. It's the meeting minutes for 8:03, 8:13, 7:30. The next one is 9:10, meeting agenda.
That was mine.
We couldn't find it.
I had it before. It's not here, so.
Okay, I'm going to call the Forster Town Council meeting for September 10th to order. If everyone will please stand to pledge the flag. The flag is located up here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Public comment. I don't have a slip up here, but is there anybody who wants to make a public comment?
I still have a few more people coming in. 1 second, please. And I'll check.
Thank you.
Oh, shit. Like, shit.
We do have agendas up here if you'd like a copy.
I passed them.
Oh, thank you.
They're going.
They're gone.
I'm going to move on to the consent agenda. I'll accept a motion for the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Heidi Rogers made a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented, and Chris Stone seconded it. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mrs. Dillon?
Heidi Rogers,
Aye.
Chris Stone,
Aye.
Bob Moreau,
Aye.
Cheryl Hawes.
Aye.
Thank you. And Denise DeFranco.
Aye.
Thank you.
Moving on, for the reason I believe most of you are here this evening, is for the proposed police building presentation. I am not sure if you have a quorum or not, Mr. Walsh?
Oh, yeah.
You do? Okay, so it was posted on the Secretary of State's website that there is a possibility that there would be a quorum for the police building committee, so you're able to speak freely. Thank you, Mrs. Dillon, for doing that. Mr. Walsh, do you want to begin? Mr. Walsh is presenting it here, and I believe Mrs. Dillon is going to share what Mr. Walsh is presenting. Yes? Yes, she is.
Yes.
Thank
Kelly, you
you.
got it? Kelly, do you have it?
She's saying, hold on 1 second. She's saying 1 second, please.
Awesome.
So I'm like,
No?
She's doing system to needs to up to here. They're here. Did you these already? We already did all that. Oh. Addition, if we did all that, case consent agenda. So they into if we can make a motion to move it up to after this, after this, after the presentation. Thank you.
I don't know what's going on here with this.
We're just trying to get the presentation on Zoom so that the people at home will be able to see it also. Technology is wonderful.
So can you see it?
No?
I'm seeing somebody's screen though, it's not mine.
do you just have, like, I only have myself on here right now. I don't have everybody.
I know I have,
And can you enlarge it?
right now, there's only a couple of people because it's been shrunk.
It's shrunk. Hold on 1 second. I'm trying to.
There you go. Okay. I don't know.
No go with that. All right, let's see if I can log into another screen over here.
So I can see your screen, but you can't see mine.
I can't. Hold on. We got a few more people coming in.
Yep.
Thank you for being so patient. Nancy, you have your hand raised. Did you have a comment? Nancy in Zoom. No,
Denise,
Yeah,
is
she's
that
raising her
Nancy
hand.
Robinson?
I don't know. She has her hand in front of her face now.
Oh, I don't know. She had just called me. I didn't call her back. She had called me to say she
Nancy, raise your hand.
She can't hear anything?
I mean, that's what she said.
There's a button that says connect to audio.
Well, that's possible.
Down at the bottom.
All right, hold on. Let's see if we can get this on here. This is crazy.
She's what?
Thank you for waiting.
Bring it up.
Hi, Nancy, you're not connected to the audience.
You're just gonna have to repeat it all.
Mine's down near the bottom where it says audio.
How the whole town knows.
It says mute.
So she,
It says mute and then she has to connect.
No, she,
yeah, because you don't have the
I can't open an agenda.
she clicks on the.
Oh, no. You're gonna go to the Highway Secretary of State, because we didn't get the agenda where you normally click on it. So go to the Highway
Do you have
Secretary of
your
State.
headphones on your, what kind of computer do you have? Okay, on the bottom.
Okay, here we go.
No, no.
PDF.
She has to. click on
Doreen?
She
She understands
Not my
completely.
fault.
There must be C's in there.
I did it. Okay.
All right, we have it up on the screen.
That worked. Now ready.
Okay, so we're going to move on with Nancy. She can do her own. Okay, so now on the screen for Zoom, you do have the presentation that Mr. Walsh will be presenting to us. I'm going to ask that everybody wait until the end to ask questions. Mr. Walsh has it formatted, so we're going to just move forward. Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
All right, so my name is Joe Walsh. I'm the chairman of the Police Department Building Committee. I don't think I need a microphone. Everybody pretty much hears me anywhere in town. So what I put together, it's kind of rushed. I'm not a multimedia company. I'm just a simple electrician. So hopefully it'll be, we won't find too many errors in it. It's about 35 slides, which is going to kind of wrap up what's happened over the past 4 years and 4 months that we've been working on this project, on how it evolved, how we got to where we are, and ultimately what it's going to cost to put in a police station, which is really obviously the key thing. No, we're going to go through, as Madam President had said, we're going to go through the 35 slides. Please don't interrupt during that time. The slides are all clearly numbered. Just remember the slide number. If you had a question, and we'll go back to every slide. It doesn't matter. When we're done with the 35, my committee, who are all here, with the exception of Anthony, they may have other comments because they haven't even seen this yet, because I've just been working on it in the past days, preparing for this kind of thing. And then the town council will have their option to ask any questions, and Kelly will expand on any of the financial things, and the chief will expand on accreditation. And then after that, public can ask any questions you want. There's absolutely, obviously, no limit. And anybody who knows me from my 10 years on the zoning board, I got no place to go. So as long as you want to ask questions that are civil and legitimate, I'll answer every one you got for you. So we're going to start right here. Obviously, the name of us is the Forest Police Department Building Committee. So this is the mission statement that the town council collaborated on and voted on back in 2016. And there's some significance to it, just so you have an idea. If people get kind of confused on whose role is what in the town, and so we're just going to try to break that down the best we can. I'm going to read a lot of these off, so the screen is a little smaller than I hope. So some of the words you can't see, maybe not here, but on others, it might make it easier, and also for the people at home. So the committee is charged to evaluate and report back to the town council regarding the location, design, and building of a new police station that meets the needs of the police department and that will serve the residents of the town of Foster. The station shall be constructed in order to provide a safe, efficient, and cost-effective building that will consider both current and future needs of the town. So that's basically the guidelines the town council set out for us back in May of 2016. And again, bipartisan town council collaborated, 5-0, they agreed on it, so obviously it's a good mission statement. Okay? Now the next thing is, how do municipalities normally make these decisions? And it's done in 2 different ways. Neither way is right or wrong. It's just so people understand a little bit better on how it works. So when municipalities are interested in making changes in major public policy initiatives, including education, tax, budget, regulatory policies, land use, infrastructure, water, agriculture, tourism, transportation, housing, demographics, crime and security effectiveness, energy and other state and local projects, policy questions, ballot initiatives, and strategy planning, they have 2 standard options. Number 1, you'd utilize a firm to use a modeling program like REMI or InPlan or COMM, when what they do with those is they'll actually look at demographics of your town, they'll look at all the surrounding towns, they look at the needs, they look at the tax base, and then they come with a report of about 400 pages that costs about 100 grand, and they'll tell you, this is what we think you need. The town of Foster, like many municipalities, takes a little different approach. What they'll do is they'll consider a less expensive way by using lay councils and lay boards to do it, which is what we do in the town of Foster. And then they hopefully pick people on those boards to make good decisions who have experience in the different tasks that they report on. This is actually what they call an ad hoc committee, and ad hoc means simply in Greek for this. So this committee was designed solely for what that mission statement said and nothing else, not building ball fields or buying fire trucks or anything like that. This is our sole purpose, is to get this information back to the town council. Okay, so the original committee that the town had chosen, which is basically here, there's only been a few changes, which were kind of mandatory changes, is you got myself, and I now serve as the chair, but originally, I'm not going to read off my qualifications. You can read that if you have any interest in getting bored, but I will tell you about the rest of the people because they're all pretty impressive other than me. So Gordy Brayton, obviously, is a construction professional, proprietor of Situate Lumber, member of the Forster Engineering Board, chief of the South Forster Volunteer Fire Department, and 100 other things that could probably go on forever. Tom Walden over there in the back in the blue shirt is nearly 5 decades. Now keep in mind, this is previous. You're going to get to and it's going to say over 5 decades. Don't get mad at me. So nearly 5 decades in emergency services, building committee member of the Forster Center Fire Station, Highway Garage, member of the Forster Center Fire Department, Forster Ambulance, Forster Engineering Board, and past EMA director. Anthony Renzi, who I don't believe is here, but he's supposed to come here tonight, entrepreneur, multiple business owner, managed construction on all those projects. So pretty significant guy, and a guy who kind of gets things done. Brendan Mara, structural engineer, associate principal at O'Day Engineers. John Restivo, who is no longer on the committee because when he did not get reelected on the town council, then it had to be replaced by someone else, and we'll get to that on the next slide. So John was an attorney specializing in commercial real estate and construction law, and then Chief Bill Zeal was the chief of police of the town of Foster. All right, so that was the initial committee that they came up with, and I serve on a lot of boards throughout the state, a couple of national boards. It's a pretty impressive lineup, except for me. The rest are pretty impressive. So in January 17, Foster Town Council voted to replace John Restivo with Gordon Rogers, who was the owner of GTA Bobcat Services, to fill the vacated town council position. So when the town council designed the mission statement, they also wanted to make sure there was a town council member on the board and the chief of police on the board. So when John Restivo did not get reelected, someone else had to take over from the town council. And just like in April of 2018, Chief Bray took over for retiring Chief Bill Zeal for the same exact reason. And then later on, after the election of 2018, Foster Town Council then replaced Gordon Rogers with Denise DeFranco, Madam President, who is currently on the committee with us now, to fill that vacated position. Okay, so now the current makeup of the board is as you see it now. Again, most of the people are still there. Most of the qualifications are exactly the same, except you see Anthony Renzi is planning board chairman now. Tom Walden now has over 5 decades of experience in emergency services. I've changed a couple of things around in my world. And now Denise is on the, Denise Franco is the town council position, and Chief David Ray is the Foster Police chief on the committee. So again, there are limits to the duties of the committee. I'm not going to read the mission statement again, but you can basically, if there's anything you didn't remember on slide 2, that'll tell you what it is again. Okay, so as a committee moved past mission statement to explore all options. So we all hear all the gossip in town, and we hear that, you know, all these different things are going to happen and decisions being made. And we're going to just try to walk you through what we've done so you know that those things have already been evaluated. So yeah, so even though our mission statement pretty much said a new police station and kind of get pigeonholed in there, it was mentioned at our very first meeting that there was a arrangement with the town of Situate to merge police departments, maybe merge buildings, maybe do a number of different things. We immediately took that to task. We went down to Situate, or I did actually. I got it agendized on 5/26/2016 to discuss it between the town of Situate and us. I was told they tabled me that night, and the council president, Mr. Collins, said, we're meeting with your town council in the next couple of weeks, which they did. Town councils got together to discuss that situation. Again, outside of the police department building committee at that point, now it's in the town council's hand, and it obviously never really went anywhere. I don't think Situate had much interest. We investigated renovating and adding on to the town hall for a new station, and we'll get into the reasons why these things were not chosen. Investigated renovating the existing police station. We investigated a joint project with the library. We investigated
Page are we on?
existing residential dwelling for sale on 109 Danielson Pike, which is the church. If anybody has seen it up there on the corner, unique kind of Art Deco building. We obviously agreed to hold public presentations. We worked on the budget. We were discussing the funding streams, and we're exploring grants. So we really stepped a lot past our mission statement than we were supposed to, but it was kind of necessary to make sure everybody in town was satisfied that it was going to be a good financial investment in the police station. Okay, so the committee, what we do and what we don't have control over, again, going back to the mission statement, we're an ad hoc committee. So our goal was to get to a point that we could provide good, solid information to the town council so they could make a good decision for you, which is ultimately the voters, obviously. But that's how they wanted it would be, which makes sense. That's the way every town would do it. We don't take into consideration defunding the police and all the crap that's going on out there on the world. You know, I'm more of a back to blue guy, so that's not my thing. But even if there was a movement to do that, that has nothing to do with us. We have a mission to do. We're going to do that mission, and wherever that goes from there is up to the voters of the town of Foster. We have no control over your taxes. We're not choosing to build a police station. That is ultimately the voters of the town. We don't have decision-making authority. We just recommend to the town of Foster Town Council. Again, people that have shown up at the meeting and said, you guys are doing this. No, we're not doing that. We're providing exactly what we're supposed to do. So you can vote on it and decide what you want to do. We have no control over existing violations of potential litigation, which we'll get to later on, that all surrounds the existing police station. Okay, so how did the committee come to be? Well, you may or may not know this. I think you will. This is how I got involved. Prior to the creation of the building committee back in May 2016, a design was produced to add an addition onto the town hall for a police station. That roughly, and Gordy, you may be able to clarify this, it was around 10,000 square feet, about $4 million, if I remember correctly. And frankly, I heard about it at Sammy Wright's welding shop, and I kind of got a little upset. And I went down to the town hall and kicked my feet because I'm kind of a cheap guy. And they said, well, if you want to change it, get on the committee. So I sent a letter in. That's how I got on the committee. So obviously that concerned the taxpayers of the town. The town council obviously understood that. They also understood the need for the police station. So they wanted to get a little bit of broader input. So this is what happened in the town council. They formed the building committee in this state. They allocated $30,000 to complete the mission, which we'll get into on how that goes through blueprints and that kind of thing. Collaborated and approved a mission statement, and then approved all the appointments to the committee. And again, that's a bipartisan town council. That's pretty impressive that they all agreed unanimously on all those things. So I definitely give the town council credit. All right, so the current police station, if you haven't seen it, because some of you may never had the opportunity, this is the existing building, which was built in 1824. It's a beautiful historic building. I happen to love historic buildings. It's just a little bit of a challenge for the current situation of the police station. So just a couple of interior pictures. If you haven't taken a tour, I would imagine the chief would give you a tour anytime you want. It's very tight, and it's not easy to get through. Those hallways you're looking at, these pictures are not photoshopped or skewed. Those hallways are 2.5 feet wide or something like that. This is the public window is right here, and you literally have to walk sideways to get down that hallway to get in, and you can't pass somebody in the hallway, so you're gonna have a little wrestling match on the way. So this is the public window area where if you came in the door, you would then actually get a little window here. You come in the door, you come up to the public window, that's where you might, file a complaint or something like that. That's this door is over here. So this is the other view of the window. And you've all seen soda machines, you know how wide they are. I'm gonna guess 30 inches, I could be wrong. So that'll give you a pretty good idea of how wide that hallway is. This is the waiting area, which is literally 2 chairs in the corner of this hallway, which is again, probably no more than 30 inches wide. Okay. Now, this is the next view. This is a stairwell up to the chief's office. This is what some might consider, oops, sorry about that, the wrong button. Right there. Some might consider this to be a handicap access, but where that actually comes in is right over here. The ramp goes out that door. This is fingerprint processing here. Here's the cell here. So if you actually had handicap from the public or physically challenged or whatever term we want to use, you're actually going to have to come in that ramp in the back door, roll by the jail cell if you could make it through the doors, which you can't, but if you could, that's the way you would come in. And it's just, the violations are impressive, to say the least. I didn't know we could stuff so many in one building, but we certainly did it well. Okay, so then there's our only cell, the only jail cell, which if I remember correctly, I mean, historians would know better. I think Ducky Catello got that from another police department or something, or the Army or something. 40 years ago, and put it in there. And it's a reasonably creative way to do things. It's 1 cell, which is certainly not enough for any town. It doesn't meet a lot of requirements that the chief will touch on later on. It's also important to understand, I showed you how that hallway comes by. Imagine, particularly being a female more than a male, and a female that is been detained in that cell for whatever reason, and you need to use the bathroom facility, something like that. There's a camera on the other wall. You can't see the hands right in there too. It just really kind of, they do the best of what they can, but it's really a tough situation. There's a dispatch room in the middle. That's where obviously the brain center of the operation, where the calls come in, they dispatch people out. And there's a patrol office where they stuff, I would say, at least 3 people in that room. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Keep those 3 chairs in there, but that's not a lot of room in there. Right? So then over here, and this is the other thing that gets kind of interesting. When you go to look for the locker room, you won't find it. When you go to look for the showers, you won't find it because they don't exist. You will find 1 bathroom on the first floor, which essentially is your public bathroom because there is no other public bathroom. So if somebody was in there making a statement, that's their bathroom. And it's also the male and female bathroom, right? Now, we have one woman on the force in Foster, and it's very common, obviously, throughout the entire country. And what's interesting to me is I come from heavy construction work, heavy construction my whole life. Heavy construction, we have separate bathroom facilities for women. Why we would not have one for a woman, just because you're a cop doesn't make you stop being a woman. So that's something that certainly would need to be addressed. Here's your file storage. And again, I'm going to guess that's about, what, 1.5 feet in front of them filing cabinets that they have to go in and try to look for files. There's your conference room, right? So when people talk about a conference room, you hear that out on the old hate book. This conference room would sit maybe 2. Right? And then if you can get all the crap out of the room, because that's also the storage, because there is no other storage in the building. Okay? And this is the coup de grace, right? There's your entrance down into the basement, which is saying, well, who cares about the basement? Well, guess what? That's the brains of the operation. There's your server and all your communication is down in that basement that was built back in the late 1800s. So there's really not a whole lot of security. If there's floods or anything like that, you really got, you kind of doomed. Okay, so what are we missing in the police station? Now, we'll go back to the chief and he'll expand on all this in a few minutes, but these are the basic things that we're missing that have created the ADA violations, the civil rights violations, all the things that are wrong with the police station now. You don't have separate cells for juveniles and females. You don't have interrogation interview room. You don't have shower facilities. You don't have locker rooms. You don't have separate bathroom facilities for male, female, public. You don't have offices of really any kind except for the chief's office upstairs. You don't have a waiting room. So if somebody was, going in there, running away from their husband or wife or child or whatever to make a complaint, they're kind of stuck in that main hallway. They don't even have a place they can really go into in that building. You have no ADA compliance of any kind in any level in that building at all. None. There is nothing in that building that's ADA compliant. No weapons storage. We store them in a broom closet. I'm probably being cynical on a broom closet, but basically it's a broom closet. Right? Same thing with evidence storage. I mean, you got barely accessible filing cabinets where you're putting your files and everything else. It's kind of ridiculous. And you don't have a sally port. If anybody doesn't understand what a sally port is, that's a secure area that the police vehicle can drive into with the person they're detaining close the door, let the person out, so that person can escape out into the general public. So that's kind of how that goes. All right, so and what about community policing, right? So that's not uncommon for police departments to do their outreach, you know, where you can meet with the youth of the town in a safe and respectful manner. There's none of that in this police station. I grew up in the city of Warwick where we had that, where you could actually go down at any given time and a police officer would sit with you, you're going through a problem, bring somebody, you just don't even have that there. In addition, the building that we're going to propose is going to have an area for the EMA office, which we don't really have anything for now. It's in the basement of the town hall still, right? So down there, which is right there, a small conference room, which can also have meetings for EMA and things during a natural disaster, which, as you know, we have a lot of those lately with power outages and stuff over a period of time. Okay. So police accreditation, we're going to go back to the chief to expand on this, but basically our department is not accredited, can't get accredited, and there's a lot of financial burden on that if we were to have an issue. Like this, what we do in this police department is just like in any other job. If you were working construction or an office and you had violations that you refused to fix and somebody got hurt, you are in trouble. There's going to be a problem when you get sued. And accreditation takes a lot of that away. Just like a hospital, fire department is not, accreditation is super popular and everything. The chief will expand on that in a few minutes. Okay. So what's the recommendation from the committee for a new police station? Now remember, this is over a 4-year journey that we took with basically the same committee. We went through all those options, found the best option that we felt for the town that was the most economically viable and just made the most sense. So the committee's recommending a single-story structure of approximately 6,000 square feet. It's actually under that, it's about 5,860, I think was our last number. Down considerably, obviously, from the 10,000 square feet one before. And that'll be located on the corner of Route 6 and 94, which is known as the old Backdrop Cafe for anybody who's been in town.
I must have missed this.
The building size is based on really the minimum requirement for a modern police station in a town of our size. And what's nice about that location, a lot of things nice about that location, but to expand on that building is really minimally invasive on that property as opposed to out on the hill behind the current police station, which was our original site, right? That land over there is being generously donated. I said being, but really being, because it's in the process, generously donated to the South Forster Volunteer Fire Department by Mike and Ann Valentine, and the South Forster Volunteer Fire Department will in turn offer it to the Forster Police Department for use. That's the plan. We're in the process. All the T's aren't crossed and the I's aren't dotted, but to the best of our knowledge, that's where we're going right now. Okay, so is it our best option? Well, the combined expertise, the building committee certainly thinks it is. We've spent a lot of time looking at all the different options to see what we could do. So again, back in 2016, the town council, this is important to understand how this mechanism works. Town council allocated $30,000 to get to an option to bring them. They had 2 options. One is a very expensive one, which I don't blame them for not going, because I wouldn't do it either, is you pick all those places. You pick the church, you pick the town hall, you pick the existing police station, you pick the Paine school, whatever you think would be a good police station, and you allocate 30 grand to all of them. And then you allocate a year or 2 of time to all of them to try to produce all these plans and get it down to a number. Town council, in my opinion, made a good decision to hire people, or not hire people, we all volunteered, but have people join the committee who knew what they were doing in construction and look at all those options on themselves and come up with the best option. So that's what we did. Now, just to get to the plans that we have today, and we're going to put up on the screen, and Gordy Brayton has a little better, clearer plan because he's got the larger printout, that costs 30 grand. That's what it costs to do that. This is not, we didn't go to Bermuda to draw plans. That's what it costs to go through the survey process, the architectural process, and all that to get to schematic designs. If you wanted to look at any other project differently and said, well, I don't know why we didn't do it in the town hall, that's 30 grand. I don't know why we don't remodel it in the existing police station, which is impossible, by the way, but that's 30 grand. That's what it costs to get this done. So this is why the town council fashioned the committee the way they did, which again, I believe is a good move on their part. So again, that's why the committee was formed, blah, blah, blah. You can read all that. So advantage to the particular site that we are suggesting. The location is closer in proximity to Paine School and to the high school in the event of any emergency of any nature, which obviously happens way too much in schools nowadays. High visibility for emergency services. It'll give some definition of Foster as people pass through town or visit town. Safe access for police and public to and from on 2 major thoroughfares. Potential spurring an investment interest in Route 6, because Route 6, you know, it's been an issue. It really needs to get cleaned up. I live on Route 6. I'm pretty proud of my property that my wife takes care of most of, but it's, we do, you know, the road's a little messed up. We believe that a nice public building, anybody who drives by the Situate Police Station will tell you. I mean, that was a nightmare for them to get it built, but it looks really good. I mean, very impressive when you drive by. So South Worcester Fire Department will also be creating a farmer's market on the same site is one of their goals. And then most of the lot will remain as basically a well-maintained open space, which will be much more pleasant as you drive through town to see that maintained rather than really overgrown and what it is now. Hey, is there a better use for this site? Because we've heard this repeatedly from people. As a matter of fact, I was told a friend of mine who owns a very popular restaurant was buying the site, and he was unaware that this was happening, and they were unaware he was interested, but it's a whole other story. So the owners of the land, Mike and Ann Valentine, generously offered this site for the emergency services in town. It has been there. They've decided that they don't want to see any commercial development on their land. And if the taxpayers decided that they didn't want that site, so we're not going to approve this because that site should be a restaurant, which it's been vacant for 20 years, so it's not going to be a restaurant regardless of what people think. But the Valentines are going to donate to another nonprofit. That's it. So if you think there's going to be a Ruby Tuesdays on that corner, which I love, by the way, it's not going to happen. So, and again, that's the owner's decision. So that's got nothing to do with the committee. This is what they want to do, and we are very happy to oblige because they do a much better spot for us. Okay, so is this the only thing, the only option the committee research? Kind of a recap what we said no before, and let you know why the other sites are not happening. So the merger with Situate again, town councils met, nothing got resolved, so that is off the table. Renovate and construct an addition to the town hall. There's a lot of cost and logistics to that. So I went through and I measured every square inch of free space in the town hall back in 2016, and I came up with somewhere in the neighborhood of high 1800s, 1900s, something like that. We really need about 6,000 square feet. So we'd be looking at about a 4,000 square foot addition, number one. Number two, that space in the town hall is split up in all different spots. So it's a live building with people working in it, where you would have to remove all those people, move everybody around, and reconstruct the inside of the town hall. You'd also have to bring it up to Category 4 construction, which is an emergency building, hospital, fire station, police station, things like that. The cost of all of that is astronomical. Remodeling and renovating by nature is more expensive than building new. No matter what anybody thinks, I've been doing it for 40 years. I know exactly what it is. And when you have a building that's actually what we consider a live building with people working in it, you have to remove those people. You're going to put them in something else during that whole time. That is very, very disruptive and very expensive. We examined a single-story building on the vacant hill behind the existing police station. So if you know where the same barn is that was kind of renovated there, if you walk out of that barn, there's a big hill in the back. That was the original place that we were looking at. We started off with a single-story building, basically the same one we have. And then we met with historic preservation. They didn't really care for what the building looked like, so we decided to shrink the footprint of the building, make it a 2-story building and sink part of that into the ground, just so it was a little less obtrusive. So we moved to the 2-story building on the vacant hill behind the existing police station. Overall, it was a good plan, a location, it met the historical district goals, and we were actually moving in that direction. It was really on the way. Then a suggestion was made to go to the resident church at 109 Danielson Pike. It's a 60-year-old structure, asbestos, lead, masonite, magnesite, everything that you can think of is in that building. And the building is at the end of its life. And you would have to remodel the entire building. It's also a third the size of what you need. There isn't enough room on the lot to do your additions and to get all your access in and out. So just, you know, it's a really cool house. I thought it was great. I would have bought it, but it doesn't, it certainly wouldn't matter make it work for us, because again, you still have the ADA issues. You basically had 3 floors there. There was a basement, there was the first floor, and it was kind of like an upper half a floor, not even a loft. I'm not even sure what we consider it, but you need an elevator in that stuff, and it's 300 grand. That's just the way this works. So then we came up again, you know, like it was dropped from heaven, this land over there. So the same single-story building basically moved over from the hill behind the police station over to Route 6 and 94. We did reduce the size to get it basically as small as we could because we knew we could add on to it fairly easy. So it made a lot of sense. If we were building on the hill behind, we really would have been really pigeonholed into making it the size we needed it for the next 20 years or 30 years, because it wouldn't have worked. The other beauty of that one over on Route 6 and 94 is they have a substantial septic system that we need to get a flow test on, but we believe is in perfect working order because it's been tested recently as much, I think, what, 5 or 6 years ago, I think it was tested. It's got an existing well, a lot majorly reduced site work because where the backdraft sat, that's where this is going to go, and if everything works out the way we believe it's going to go. So there's a lot of advantages to that site. So those are the different options of why we didn't look at it. So when you hear this is all they want to do, it's not true. This is what we did, and we spent 4.5 years doing it. Okay, so now the architect who worked really hard to get stuff for us wasn't able to get the site plan for me, which is unfortunate, but basically this is it. If you're familiar with the area at all, which everybody I'm sure is, here's 94, here's Route 6, here's where the old backdraft was right here. That's my red circle, obviously. That's not any alien landing pad or anything. And the fire station's back here, and this is the lot. So the building would end up pretty much right where the old backdraft was. So a lot of great access on Route 6, far enough away from the light that it doesn't cause any kind of traffic problems if the police have to go out to respond to an emergency. So it's, as far as that goes, it's really terrific. And again, very visible. People drive by, they're going to actually see something besides, you see it. You see the piles of trash, right? We all see it. That you're going to see that when maybe other people go, you know what, maybe I should kind of clean up my stuff. So this is the actual building. Now Gordy has a full-size print, which is going to be easier to see, and we kind of let you look at that later on. I'm not sure if people on Zoom see this better than we do. The screen is kind of small, so I don't know if they can see it. It's also going to be out on the website. Ms. Dillon is going to take care of that for us, so it'll be kind of easy to see. So basically, what you're looking at is about a 5,800 square foot building with some attic storage. Here's the attic storage here. That's on the same plan, but that's above everything else. So the purple area is the public area, the blue area is the police area, the red area is a secure area with the cells and the Sally port and all that kind of stuff. And you'll see the green is the EMA office, and the orange or yellow is basically the mechanical areas and that kind of thing. So you'll see things like when you walk in off the lobby, a public bathroom that people can use. They don't have to actually go into the secure area, which doesn't sound like much, but if you're a police officer and somebody comes to your door and you don't know this person, and they say, okay, can I use the bathroom? Think of a UPS guy that you don't know, not the person who comes to your house all the time, but or the mail person who comes from Amazon on Sundays who nobody knows who that person is, right? And they come out and say, hey, can I use your bathroom? You'd be kind of freaked out about that, I think, right? And if I was a police officer, I'd be freaked out saying, no, we got a public one right there, that's perfect, but no, why don't you come back from here? We're gonna bring you past the jail cell, and then you can go in where our lockers are, and you can go in and, no, to me, I don't know why it's never gonna be that way. But this is basically how it is. So we've condensed the building to what we believe to be met the mission statement, make it safe, make it secure, meet the current needs of Foster, and actually meet the future needs of Foster too, but easily to expand on if we need to in the future. The attic storage space is a kind of like a bonus 800 feet that we have up there for file storage and things that we can use. The building 100% ADA compliant, because people don't realize that, well, if you hire police, they're not in wheelchairs. No, but your dispatcher could be. Anybody from the public is. Hell, your congressman is, right? So you gotta, you really want to have ADA access no matter what, besides just the violations, just the human thing to do. This is the conference room that you hear out there is 20,000 square feet. It's somewhere around 380 square feet, something like that. I mean, it's not, it sits 10 chairs. EMA sits over here. So that conference room can be used for public conferences. If people come in, maybe there's a neighborhood watch that needs to talk to the chief or something like that. Maybe there's two neighbors who have a beef and this and that. So the conference room is very modest. There was some conversation about this oversized conference room, which people call me about. When we had our second story plan, we had like half a basement that was open. Didn't have anything to it. It was all done. The walls are up, and we called it a conference room. And apparently that upset a few people. So basically, it's a modest conference room. It's no bigger than any standard office conference room there is. Okay, so this is basically the elevations. Again, Gordy has elevation plans. There's the front of the building up on the top. That's what would be facing Route 6, south facing. And then the other one is what would be facing back to the fire department over on the side. Here's your elevations looking at the two other ends. Again, this isn't exact. It's basically what, you know, there may be a couple of modifications, not money modifications, but just aesthetic modifications over time. We're still working through it the best we can at this point. Okay, so then the big question everybody says, you know, everybody believes that this commission or this board or the town council is going to make some vote that's going to cost a lot of money. No, we ain't doing that. That's the public votes on that. We provide the information to town council. They decide if they feel it's worthy to go to a vote. Then they bring it to a vote, and then everybody in town has the right to vote on it. Obviously, every taxpayer. All right. So again, we're an ad hoc committee. That's all we do. We provide the best information to town council. They use their knowledge and understanding of it to do what they're going to do. I believe the Foster Financial Town meeting is on the 29th. Is that accurate? Because we were back and forth. Madam President, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Because I think it went out on the 22nd. So it's the 29th. So I didn't know if we needed to change that at all. So, okay. All right. So what if we were to vote against the proposal? And we're getting to the good stuff, so don't get nervous. So the town is got a number of issues, particularly with the police department. As I said, when I talked to the USDA a year ago about grants and things like that from them, and the woman was extremely nice, and she's actually been working on this long before this committee was ever established. And I said, well, you know, we borrow money from the USDA. We get a USDA loan. There's what I refer to as fish hooks in that, right? So one of the things you have to do is you have to bring all your buildings in town up to current codes, right? That's the first thing you need to do. So I repeatedly said ADA because that's what I'm most familiar with from general construction. I said, Mr. Walsh. Now, whenever they say Mr. Walsh or Joseph, I'm in trouble. So I said, Mr. Walsh, I want to stop you right there. You keep saying ADA, but you're missing that your town is plagued with civil rights violations. I said, okay, what are those? And she went through the cells, the interview rooms. And again, the chief can expand on this. You can't have a juvenile detained here where an adult can see them over there. You can't have a juvenile in this interview room here where an adult can hear them on the other side. There's a lot of different things. And then you get into the whole male-female issues with locker rooms and bathrooms and all that. And people say, you know, well, what? I don't think the police need a shower. Well, if you're a police officer, I probably disagree with that because I know a lot of them, and they get urinated on and thrown up on and roll around in the dirt and everything else. They damn well need a shower. So, and you need one for women and men, obviously, because this isn't a dormitory. So there's a number of different things. There's a host of violations of the ADA, fire codes, electrical codes, the civil rights issue, and they're all well known by the federal and local government. So if the town decided as taxpayers, and I don't think anybody's even going to remotely vote this down, but if they decided to it, you're going to do something. You're building something. You may think you're not. You may think that, hey, I'm going to save some money and I'm going to vote against that. No, you're not. The police department will be moved out of those buildings into trailers until you decide what you're going to remodel. Because that's what they're going to do. You're not going to have a choice because you cannot have a municipal building with those violations. It is 100% illegal. It can't be done. So, so again, that's big. If you decided not to make an investment in the town, you're going to pay. Now, the town council could decide to hire an expert to figure out what that's going to cost to go in a different direction. I think by the time I get done, that's not even going to be an issue. All right. And as far as the current police department, it is literally impossible to do anything with that building to bring anything up to code because it is too small. You would have to take out half the offices, which means gutting the entire building, and now you don't have the rooms to do what you need to do, and it's just not going to work. You just the building is a house. That's what it is, right? No access to the second floor. That's ADA, and it's a house. It's a nice house. I like it. That's all it is. All right. So we obviously got to borrow money, and this is just kind of an FYI, so people who don't follow bond markets and things like that. Is it a good time to borrow money? Well, here's where we were a couple of years ago. We're at about 4%. If we were going to borrow the money in the bond market. Now we're at about roughly 2.35, right? Which it's been going down for 20 years. It just continues to go. This one is, I think, starts in 1989, this graph or something. So yeah, it's a really good time to borrow money. That is certainly not going to go away anytime soon. There is always a chance at the next election. Nobody knows what the outcome will be. Bond market may take a tick up, but in general, it's still cheap money at this point. Okay, so I know, bottom line it already. We listen to enough of your crap, Joe. So again, we don't have all hard numbers because we don't have it hasn't gone out to public bid. So, but what we do have is we've talked to multiple people who've done this recently. We've talked to many different builders. We've talked to a lot of people. We got a real good handle, and I think we're pretty solid on what the number's going to be. So, based on the facilities, professional input, all that, we believe we're going to be about $400 a square foot. Put it in perspective, West Boylston did one a couple of years ago. Very similar type of town. They built about 12,000 square foot, about 11,700, somewhere in that ballpark. And they came in at about $365 a square foot. Larger buildings are cheaper per square foot because, of course, your bathrooms and things like that are divided amongst that. You wouldn't have necessarily a bigger shower room with a bigger building, but still, we think 400 is a pretty comfortable number. So that would be a total investment for the building itself of about $2.4 million, right? Now, that number doesn't mean anything to anybody because what is it going to cost me, right? Because that's all I care about. I don't care what the building costs. It's like buying a car. The guy tells you, well, what kind of payment you can afford. No, I want to know what I'm paying for the car, all right? So there's a couple of costs that are not figured into that, the $2.4 million, and we've worked on that with Kelly today. Things like furniture, landscaping, signage, paving, fit out, and we will need a tower for communications because we need to leave the existing tower in place. We can move the communications equipment over with the new tower already in place, so we only have a blackout period of, a couple of hours as opposed to a couple of weeks, right? Which we obviously can't do. So some of that will be direct purchases by the town. Others may be allowances in a contract that we establish. Some of it may be worked into the bond. Again, the town council is going to kind of have to work on that and massage it to the way they think that it's going to be the best thing to do. Okay, so now this may be kind of difficult to read. I get that, and I'll give you some ideas of what it says if you can't see it. So basically, Kelly worked this up for us today, and I'm happy to read every number off to you. So it's not like it's small because the screen's small, not because I wanted it small. So at 2.375, which is about the bond price today, it's very, very close. A $300,000 home, which is the average home price in Foster, that costs about $138 a year. So that 1,000, 2,000 number you heard, it's not true. That's what it costs, okay? So if you had a $600,000 home, that gets you to $276 or something a year. If you had a $150,000 home, it's half of that. That's what it works out to be. Now that's on a $3 million bond, not 2.4, that's $3 million, which should have enough money to do everything you want to do. And then it'll get you, and that's at 2.375. But even if you went up to 3.75, which is, I'm sure we're not going there anytime quick, that's like $156 on that same $300,000 home. So again, there's an investment in a new police station as opposed to what you will be paying if you don't do it, which is going to be a lot of money, right? So you want to kind of think about that. When you think about it yourself, you don't need anybody to tell you, is if you take a tour of the police department and you know that they're going to be moved out, which they definitely will, and they're going to be put somewhere, whether that's pot in the town hall and pot over in the school and pot over here, until you get it all figured out, you're going to be paying a little bit of dough on that, okay? So what happens to the current building, which has been a big concern, surprisingly enough? So again, it's outside of our scope, but we have encouraged the Foster Town Council to create a committee for a larger vision of the use of municipal buildings, which they basically have. I think the oversight committee is still kind of going, right? Still just so we believe that will probably be repurposed because it'll remain a historic landmark in the town. Possibly the library might move in there. We don't really know. I certainly don't speak for them, but it'll be reused for something else. Okay, so now my committee really hasn't had a chance to see any of this because, again, I've been just kind of throwing it together in my downtime of the past between meetings the past couple of days. So does anybody on my committee think there's something I missed that should be addressed? And I can go back to any slides you want. Denise?
Nope.
Chief? We'll get back to accreditation in a second. We'll just, okay. Brendan?
I think you did a great job.
Okay. All right. So the committee doesn't really have any points that need to be made, which means I guess I was paying attention to school. That's good. So next, before we move on to the town council, maybe Chief, you could expand on accreditation a little bit.
Chief, can you come up to the microphone? And you might want to remove your mask to speak. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. What's happened with accreditation is the trust, that's the insurance company that insures every city and town in the police department. What happened was some time ago, well over a year ago, they made it mandatory that every police department in the state become accredited. And accreditation is basically a several-fold process. First of all policies and procedures have to be updated and brought up to date, which I've done. It's taken me approximately 2 years, and I have our policies pretty much in line with every other police department. The other side of it is standards, such as what Mr. Walsh was discussing regarding different things in the building. For example, the housing of prisoners, a juvenile detention room, which they have to be outside of sight and sound of an adult. And our building cannot be accredited. I've spoke with Christine Crocker, who's the president of the Rhode Island State Accreditation, and the building simply will not pass. Now, what does that mean? Well, our deadline for accreditation was a year ago. So now what happens is, because the trust requires this, if there's an injury, say an employee injury, the premiums per injury are astronomical. And we've been lucky that none of our officers or civilian employees have been injured, but that's part of the teeth on it. Okay, you're not accredited. Well, number one, somebody gets hurt, the town will have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars in premiums. Once, the good news is, if hopefully the citizens of the town approve the building, once with approval, we can begin the accreditation process, and then we would be covered. So that would be a positive thing. And it's, you know, I know this, we've all been going through a lot, the coronavirus and everything else. I know that. But this is something that we need to move the town and the department forward. And you know, Chief Brayton and I sat down, and we really, basically what we have is a small, common sense police station that'll bring us into the 21st century. That'll be good for everyone, not just the officers, but the people, because it's your police station. And that's the truth. And if anyone has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. Like I said, other meetings, I'm more than happy to give anybody a tour of the building, you know, from the basement all the way upstairs to the attic where we store our evidence. And that's another issue. Our evidence room is behind a wooden door in an attic. It's not climate controlled. And you may say, well, what difference does that make? Well, one of the differences is if, you know, cases sometimes take years to come to fruition in a courtroom. And for example, the defense attorney could simply say, that's evidence of a crime, whether it be a felony or what have you. And the way it's stored, a whole case could be thrown out based on that. There's guidelines, it's 2020, there are guidelines and everything. That's just 1 out of 100 I could give you. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Anybody have any questions on accreditation? So Kelly, could you, I don't know if anybody has any questions on financing. Maybe you could talk about funding streams that might be available other than actual taxpayer money? Because everything that I showed you was basically taxes paying, right? You would pay an additional 138, but that's 20 years. 20 years is what that bond was. But that's only if it goes that way. There's plenty of other ways to go. So we try to do it. That's the shock value, right? So you go, oh, okay, let me think about that. Like when you look at the sticker on the car, and then you go back a couple of days later, it seems a lot cheaper, right? So Kelly will discuss the several revenue streams that are available out there.
So,
No.
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 All right, well, why she's working that out, one of the reasons that we went with the 20-year bond is because, is because it spreads out the impact of the taxpayers over more taxpayers over time. So if this was, I was building this police station myself, my checkbook, my money, I'd want to pay it off absolutely as fast as possible, right? Because there's less interest over time, just like any other mortgage. But when you do that with a municipal building, that puts all the impact on the taxpayers at that point in time for a building that's going to be used for 60, 70 years. Doesn't make any sense to do it that way. That's why you stretch the bond out. 20 is actually pretty tight. You know, normally you'd even do it longer than that.
When did they occupy this place?
1964 or 5 or something.
1960s, I believe.
Yeah. There's actually a story. It used to be on your website. I don't know if it's still out there.
The question,
Yeah, who's speaking in?
yeah, one, thank you, Mrs. Dillon. Sir, could you please state your name and address so that we know who's speaking? The gentleman that was asking about the money.
Brad Hearn.
Brad Hearn was speaking.
Brad.
Mr. Hearn was speaking. He asked how many years. So then it was discussed that it would be 20 years, and the reasoning was, I'm sure you heard Mr. Walsh.
Yeah, I did.
He also wanted to know when the building was occupied by the police, and it's believed it was in 1964.
Thank you.
Before they built the town hall, treasurer's office, it was a private property. Then it became town hall. Then they town hall. So it wasn't.
Okay. I'm getting a history lesson.
He's saying the building's been used for 60 years. When we have now, it's not really.
Well, it was too small to begin with, is the point.
We're having discussion about the length of time that a building, it would be good for. I was getting a history lesson on the current building, what it was prior to the police station. So thank you. I was not aware of that.
Yes.
Yes, it was. And then treasurer's office. I thought it was a
Okay, so thank you. Kelly's going to give us some information regarding the cost, et cetera. So do you want to remove your, so you can?
So the paper defines different things. Okay, so what we did was there's a 2.75 calculation and one at $3 million. So we did 2.375 was the starting point because the USDA loan currently right now is 2.75. So we started with that. We went all the way up to 3.75 for percentages just so we could have when we're going to go out for financing, which avenue we're going to use. There's multiple avenues. One is a USDA loan, which each one has its own problems. One is a privately funded bond, which you go out to bid with multiple banks. You find which one has the best offer. And then the publicly traded bonds. That's the traditional one that everybody thinks of, where you get a bond rating, you go and trade your bonds on the market.
Could you speak louder? People on Zoom is having a hard time hearing you.
So, can you hear me now?
Can she take off her mask? Like, just drop her mask down, step away a little bit from, and then speak louder. I know.
That's from your friend,
I
Mrs.
know
Dillon.
who it's from. I hear her.
It's because it's muffled.
Okay, so basically what we did is we calculated the payment. So in the first column, what you'll see is if you can actually go back, we'll take your file. I'm not sharing your screen anymore either, so. On Zoom, this will be posted at some place on the website, but if you look at the schedule we prepared, the annual payment was used to then put in a formula to figure out how it would impact the taxpayer. And I wanted everybody to calculate that on your own because truly that's a personal issue based on your own property value, based on your own situation. So we got the most current assessed values of the property as a whole. We figured out what it would cost each taxpayer to raise $25,000. It's approximately 6 cents. So therefore, we put in a formula to figure out how it would impact you. So at a 2.375 rate or a $2,750,000 bond, if you own a $100,000 piece of property, your impact would be 42 cents on the 1,000, which is $126 for
Just lost her. Her mic's not working.
It is on
It's on now.
in front of you, Denise, that's why.
Okay,
Sorry. just
That's
my
all right.
butt in your face.
that's all right.
The same thing is true for 350,000. So you would take the 350, multiply times the 42 cents increase, and you would get $147 per year for your evaluation. So why I did it this way, if you have a $700,000 property value, you should be able to take the 42 cents and come up with your own. I did this all the way through. There's 4 calculations, one for 2.375, 2.75, 3.250, and 3.75 for interest. And I did it again for a $3 million bond. Because at this point, it's really they're going to build and use whatever you value, whatever you approve. If they build a building or estimating the building at 2.4, the building is, that's not it. There's paving and landscaping and other costs. There's furniture and everything else. So minimally speaking, we think it would be 2.75 around there to be conservative. 3 million, but you vote on that as a taxpayer at the financial town meeting, what we would go out and issue bonds for or get debt for, the total amount. This was done at the worst case scenario. There's no assumption by the council, and that point, no by council, and there's no assumption that 100% of this debt would be paid by new taxes. The school, West Regional School, is in the middle of paying off its debt for a bond issue. Hi, Brendan, you know I love this. So my take on this is they paid a portion of it off this year, and they're paying another portion next year. So the whole bond, one bond will fall off of their statement next year. It is my assumption, therefore, that that will roll off a portion of it, if not. Now, mind you, that's not going to affect their operations. They could still put forward a budget that has a 4% or whatever they're going to need. They're going to put forward in their operations, but that debt will fall off. So there's a possibility of allocating a portion of that towards this debt payment. There's also a possibility of using some capital money to offset some of this debt. It is a capital expense. Even though we're funding it to debt, it's a capital expense. Our capital project fund is not doing too poorly. We have a plan long-term to fund some of our capital. It wouldn't be irresponsible to use a portion to fund a portion of this debt. As in a few years, we have a long-term claim payment, repayment that we are making to Providence Water. Many of you know about, some of you do not. But we owe Providence Water about $1.6 million from a settlement that we made years ago, and we have about 4, maybe 5 years left on that. Our current budget, I think, is about $200,000 for that payment a year. When that falls off, some of that can go into reimbursement, we put in capital, use for capital towards this debt, and some can actually go towards this altogether. So what we are looking for is to educate, to say this is the worst case scenario for you right now. Multiple options so you can look at it, personalize that, get an idea of what we're looking for. And then hopefully we can try to find a way that, do this, we do a little bit less. Unfortunately, it's going to get a little confusing because we're in the middle, I just spoke that, of a revaluation. So it will get skewed, but this is still the facts. Based on your current assessed value, based on your assessed value, we will be looking to raise this amount. So whatever your assessed value is, this is what we're doing, and how it will impact you. Again, it's most chargeable.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Kelly?
Mrs. Dillon, was there anybody with a question?
Gordon Rogers?
Gordon Rogers has a
Want to
question.
do the town council first or no?
1 second, Gordon. Will you ask?
It's up to you. It's just that. Just
You
the
had
way the
asked
slide
least
put it.
public, so I asked Zoom
Yeah,
public.
it's just the way. the slide
1
put
minute,
it.
Gordon.
We do whatever you want.
Is there anybody from the council that has any questions? Mr. Rowe.
Yes, my question is.
Can you speak louder, Bob?
Bob, can you speak louder, please?
Yeah, my question is concerning the property itself, okay? Building, the location is fantastic. It looks really great, the design and everything. My concern right now is something you had remarked. You said that the property itself, that the fire department taking over the property is contingent on the town voting on that? Or has the property been turned over to the fire department?
Well, I'm gonna have, if you know the question, I'm gonna have Woody answer that because he would be more familiar with.
Yeah, at the moment today, we have one more piece of paperwork to be done.
Who is that?
Gordy, can,
He has to,
wait 1 minute. Bob, step away. Gordy, come up. Thank you.
Okay. I was hoping to have an answer today. It was finalized, the deeds have been transferred, but we're still waiting for one evaluation to come in. So hopefully by this time next week, the deeds will be transferred.
Thank you. I mean, I guess it's an interesting
It
conundrum because if the town was to vote it down, the Southwest Volunteer Fire Department would already be deeded the property. So it was still on the property regardless. So, but the fire department would then make the decision, I guess, on whatever else would happen. I think the Valentine's pretty confident that they're in good shape. So, anything else from the council?
Anything else from the council? Chris, you had your hand raised? No. Anyone else from the council?
I have a question about.
Can you come up to, Mrs. Rogers has a question.
I just have a question about the land itself. Will the town be leasing it? Will there be like a 100-year lease for a certain amount of money, or how is that going to work when the fire station owns the land, but the town is paying for the building on it? I've heard that question from other people.
At this point, we're looking at the option of deeding enough property for a police station to the town. So the town will assume all the responsibilities and liabilities of that piece of property. That way the fire department isn't paying insurance policy. At least some type of agreement done to deed it to the town.
Thank you. Anyone else from the council? Question from the public. Mr. Rogers.
Can you hear me all right?
yes, we can.
Can you wait 1 minute, Mr. Rogers, so I can see if everyone in the audience, can you hear Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Rogers, they're having a hard time hearing you. Could you speak loud?
Speak up.
That's the first I've ever said that. Gordon, could you speak louder when you speak, please?
Yeah. A couple questions on the slides. I think one of the slides mentioned it was the building only. Listen, we need a solution. That without regard, we need to come to a solution with this police station. I just want to be clear on some of the facts. 2.4 million is specifically for the police building alone and just the structure. It was mentioned that we're going to need additional funds for a tower, which is, I'm going to guess, 150, 175,000. Furniture, we're going to have to move the communication system over. And the question is, do we want to move an old communication system over, or are we going to purchase a new communication? We're going to do it. You don't buy a brand new car and put used tires on it. That is one concern, which is going to inflate the number a little bit. And we're talking about doing it through capital, which is a good idea. We do have the water supply board issue that's going to be ending in about 5 or 6 years. And we've upped what we've been putting towards that for the major balloon payment that's going to be at end. So that's already built into the budget. My question is, that bond, well, it's a twofold question. We're talking about doing stuff within our budget. And I know the last budgets, other than this one, have been right about 4% at the max every year. So twofold question, is this bond going to be within the 4%, or is it going to be outside our 4% cap on the borrowing, and that $138 or $150 is going to be additional to our $150 or $175 that we're receiving every year with our 4% increases, which changes that into a whole new realm of cost. And then sitting there doing the budgets, very well this year because of COVID, but that was a can that we kicked down the road a little bit. People are going to be waiting in the next budget to get back what they gave up. So that tidal wave is coming. And I'm just concerned about saying this is only $138 for the average $300,000 house. I want to be clear, there's additional money going to be needed to finish. Paving isn't part of that. Security fence isn't part of that. On-site retention work, all the water, state law says we can't dump the water out on the state road anymore like we used to be able to. It has to be handled on-site either through a drainage system or an infiltration system, which has to be designed and engineered, which I don't think is part of the plans. Those are my concerns, and especially that it's clear that this within our 4% cap, or is the bond going to be outside our 4% cap, and then we're going to have our normal tax increases? And we all know what they've been lately. That's all I have.
Thank you. Kelly, do you want to address that?
Can you repeat those questions so we can hear it?
Oh,
We can't, with that thing going, we can't hear.
oh, I'm sorry. I was looking to see somebody saying they can't hear. We have a microphone underneath here, hoping that. It's on. Okay, so Mr. Rogers' question was that we proposed a certain amount for the building itself. And Mr. Rogers, if I'm not saying correctly, jump in. But there's also things like what was pointed out, furniture, paving, communication tower, various things. That was one of his things that, okay, so it's not going to be the exact amount for the building itself. There's going to be additional monies, which Kelly had mentioned earlier. Then Mr. Rogers also was asking, is this additional $138 or the money for the bond going to be outside of the 4% our taxes have gone up in the past? So, Kelly.
The thing is, we wouldn't be making the first payment most likely in this year. So when we actually go to fund this payment, it will affect next year's budget, which starts in July. I can't tell you right now what next year's budget is going to look like because it's going to depend on the council you elect, and it's also going to depend on what else happens in this fiscal year. So debt is one of the what am I looking for? You have like there are 4 reasons that you can exceed the debt limits.
The answer is yes.
Tax increases, and it is one of the exceptions. So issuance of new debt is an exception where you could, in actuality, exceed the 4%. It's not our goal to do it, which is one of the reasons that I stated that we wouldn't necessarily have to fund this debt 100% with new taxation, but a different council, I can't say that. I don't have the final say in the budget. Actually, to be honest with you, the taxpayers do. So it will come up at the next financial town meeting when we prepare another budget. There hasn't been any talk right now of exceeding the tax cap because of debt, but I can't comment on that. Right now, this payment of $175 is maybe, it's less than 2% of our, it would be maybe 1.8 increase on our taxation, on our tax levy, if I had to guess right off the top. So that would still leave you some room without exceeding the tax cap. I hope that answers it, but again, I can't possibly answer that question until next year's budget.
And I think the other piece of it that is important is, yes, the building was 2.4, but the number we're working on is 3 million.
It's
There's a
$2.75
$600,000 difference.
Right,
Yep.
we have given you 2.75 and 3 million to include all of these costs that he's discussing that we don't really know.
Did the people on Zoom get that answer?
Yes.
Thank you.
Bob Boyden is up, and then Mitch.
And I also have one that someone messaged me, if I could do that question first.
Go
Thank
ahead.
you. It's from Mr. Donovan, and it is in regards to the slide number 20. The question is, the property for the police department was donated to South Forest, and I think Heidi kind of brought this out. And Mr. Donovan stating that he's unclear on what the potential implications to the town are based on the statement specifically. The town of Forster owned the property where the proposed police department will be potentially built, or will some form of legal agreement be drafted to outline the terms of the town's usage of the property where the police department is built? So we kind of answered that already, that the fire department will be looking to deed the property to the town. So I hope that answers your question, Mr. Donovan. So, Mr. Boyden, you have a statement or a
I have a question. Thank you. This question is asked in my standing as a citizen of the town and a voter, not as my position as moderator. And my question refers to slide 30. Slide 30, I want to thank Mr. Walsh for a really well done presentation. Very thorough, very detailed, and very well presented. Thank you. So slide 30 expresses a number of, I guess what I'll say are legal opinions or technical opinions, and I'd like to know if the solicitor feels that that slide represents, is accurate and represents the reality of the situation.
The solicitor's coming up to the microphone.
It does, Bob. Denise and I, probably about a year ago, went to a state fire board meeting. And the only reason why they didn't come down on us with a guillotine then is because we kind of went to them with hat in hand and said there was a committee in place to bring to the taxpayers a new police station. All those issues that were brought up by Mr. Walsh were in fact brought up at that meeting. And the only reason why they gave us a waiver was because this was coming down the pike, and we told them that. I believe that what will happen is they will circle back around. And this is going to be a huge issue for the town because, as Mr. Walsh said, the police will be out in trailers out of that building. That building is unfit to be a police department, and there's going to be a lot of issues. You could have liability issues in there if people get hurt. I don't even mean town residents. You could have civil rights violations from prisoners, and those things come fast and furious these days. We see it around the country. So what he put up there is accurate. He's not putting stuff in there that is inaccurate. That's what he's been told by Denise, because her and I were at that meeting, and we read the riot act, so to speak, by the powers that be for the fire.
So thank you, Mark. And I didn't mean to cast any aspersions on Mr. Walsh's information, merely to have it validated. I appreciate that.
And I didn't take it that way, Mr. Boyden, at all, and I do definitely appreciate the question. And just to, I'd have 200 slides if I explained everything that we've done. When we started the committee day one, the previous solicitor put all of this data right then, and Chief Zeal and I up at this point, but he had stacks of books of violations that we were informed. And I said, the one that really concerned me is, fire code violations are a big thing, but they do, you can work with those. ADA and civil rights are a major, major issue. And my concern is I like to spend money and get something out of it. If we were to have somebody that was to get hurt in that building, whether it be a police officer or somebody that was detained from, something, and they got hurt, it works just like OSHA and every other arm of the government, where they said, you knew you had a problem, you did nothing about it, and here's what you're going to do about it now. And it's a scary thing. I mean, I operate in that world every day, and they're not as forgiving as your local government might be. That's for sure. So.
Thank you again.
Mrs. Dillon, you said someone else, and I lost.
Yes, Mitch, Mitch? Go
Yes,
ahead.
hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi.
If you say it slowly, I'll repeat it for the people here.
Okay. I live at 54A Maple Rock Road. I just wanted to thank Mr. Walsh and the committee. This is great work, and it's an excellent PowerPoint. This is my first time actually hearing about most of the stuff. I did know what was going on, but watching the presentation tonight was very informative for me. In a past life, I worked in law enforcement for over a decade and in a neighboring town. And we had the same exact problem with the police station and the structure of the building. And this past spring, I went to the police station for some paperwork, and I'd never been in that building before. And I was actually shocked at the conditions of the building. I was let into the back of the building to do some paperwork, and I came out, and all I could think about was the safety of the people in that building. God forbid if something happened where somebody came into that building, there was no safety. And I wholeheartedly agree with this proposal. I think it's a great idea. I'm 100% for it, and I want to thank the committee for doing this work. It's a great job.
Thank you. Basically, he was saying he's gone into the police department, is in support of the new police building because of things, and he was in law enforcement in a past life. So.
I think he said we're great too.
Oh, yeah.
That's
He,
what I heard.
yeah, he did say Mr. Walsh was great.
I think the gentleman there had raised his hand again.
I was just wondering about the water issue.
Could you come front, Mr. Hearn, and so that we can all hear you?
Dr. Paine here almost got condemned because the state stored salt, openly stored salt on that property. And it leached down into the water supply here, and we almost condemned our school because of the water quality. Have you addressed the water quality issue of that? It's going to come haunt the police department now because you're building on a piece of property with the water.
So I don't know whether, I mean,
that was an issue.
Yeah, well, I mean, that hasn't come up to
the
us.
water quality of that land.
Yeah.
It's full of salt.
I mean, there's a well existing that would have to be tested anyway to qualify at all.
And when the
Right.
restaurant was there,
And a restaurant, right.
Right.
fire station test.
Yeah, I mean, if it's certainly,
If you remember, Billy, I mean.
yeah, I mean, there's,
I actually don't, Brad. I don't remember that. I remember.
But it would have to be tested. Our town wells have to be tested. So it would, it has to.
Grammar school, and that was when
I remember it, Brad.
Okay.
yeah, it should certainly be noted if it was something that, something.
But since then, I think the restaurant was over there.
Yes,
And
the
it got
restaurant has been there.
approved, and
So,
it
but it
got
is something that would have to be tested right along. Any other questions from the audience? Mrs. Ryder, you know the routine.
Lynn Ryder, Burgess Road. Kelly knows what a math whiz I am. So I just wanted her to confirm something. When I looked at going out for a $3 million bond and at the 2.375% on a $300,000 home, the way I figured it out, Natalie knows if it's right, that would be about $2.66 a week.
Yeah, that's about right.
I'm here, here, and I figured it was,
Yes, that's about right.
okay, so $2.66 per week is what you would pay.
Right, it's 138 divided by 52.
Right. Right, okay.
It's in the old days. Remember Sally Struthers, who used to come out with, they had the young African kids with the flies on them to raise money, cost of a cup of coffee a day.
Yeah.
This is a cost of a third. Cup of coffee
Was
a
only
day.
38 cents a day,
Third of a cup of coffee a day.
unless you go to Starbucks.
Again, I think we all heard the same thing, that we're talking over $1,000 per house on this, which frankly, I wouldn't be standing in front of you. That was even remotely close. And when we do all the numbers, we had a good handle on where it was going to be. And I was certainly very pleased with the numbers that came in today. I don't want to pay any more taxes. No one wants to pay any more taxes. But I know that we pay more taxes. And honestly, and I'm not saying it because they're in the room, it's disrespectful to these guys to be working that condition. It really is. And again, particularly, I get really gravitate towards, you have a female officer who's basically being treated like a man in that place. And I don't know, well, she shouldn't be a police officer. That's not true. She has every right to be. And you go in there and you go, how do you possibly share? I mean, I don't think you know that, right? So how do you possibly share these facilities? And there is no way, like even when you commented on the age of the building, I'm not saying the building, because they've been there 40 years, they got to move out. I'm not saying that at all. That building's 200 years. So clearly the building is still got life in it. But the problem is just what is constructed in there can't be in that building. It doesn't meet any code at all. And we've been fortunate in this town is that there are people who travel the country who have physical challenges, who go to towns and municipalities looking for those things. And if you can Google it any day of the week, they're out there. And you know what? Rightfully so, because they should have access to a public building. But it can very quickly cost you a whole lot of money for something we're doing wrong. So it's, again, the taxpayer makes a decision. But there is no doubt that there's going to be a financial impact to us if we do nothing. There's no doubt. What that impact is, I don't know, but I know it's not going to be $25. I know that. So.
Any other questions from the audience? Mr. Maher. Brendan Maher is coming up to the microphone.
I'm at the microphone. There's a misperception in the town that the police aren't terribly busy, and I think that affects some of these views on whether a police station is needed and why we need it. So I was hoping the chief or maybe Officer Tyler could speak a little bit to how active and how busy our police force actually is, because I think a lot of folks, for a good reason, aren't in daily contact with you guys. And I think if you speak to that a little bit, and you can help reinforce the need why we need a robust police force, not just for enforcement, it's for the community activities you do, the outreach you do, and how these activities really benefit the taxpayers and the citizens on a daily basis.
Chief. Thank you, Mr. Maher.
Yes, I can certainly answer that. Part of the police's job is to make the citizens of the town feel safe. So we don't necessarily always hear all the laundry that goes on, but these offices are very busy. And right now we're operating with 8, including myself. And so I have sat down and I went over the stats just for the summer. This summer we've had 23 arrests, 8 of which are domestic assaults, one of which was a very serious felony domestic assault. We also investigated a felony stabbing, assault with a deadly weapon. The individual was stabbed with a screwdriver over a dispute over a car. We handled 26 accidents, including a near fatal accident and a fatal accident, which I made notification to the family personally. 1 week ago, in the space of 1 hour, there were 3 simultaneous accidents in which Lieutenant Domingos had to handle by himself due to the fact he was working alone. The department has also investigated 12 felony crimes, one of which is going to the grand jury. We've just completed the case and been working with the Attorney General's office. We've also completed 73 offense reports. In the midst of all this summer, my officers are out there enforcing traffic laws. We've written 203 citations over the summer. I don't, part of our job is to make the citizens feel safe, and it is a safe town because of what these officers are doing out there. I know it's common, it's not just enforcers, it's over, every town sad, the police don't do anything, they're sitting over there drinking coffee, I get it, but that's really not the case. So we are working out there, and as far as community outreach, we've done birthday parades, we did the high school graduation parade. I can't say enough about Lieutenant Domingos for his outreach with the kids at Paine School, and hopefully once I'm back to full strength, we're going to do even more. But we're there for you. It's your department. We work for you. And like I said, this isn't a win. It's not like, hey, I want to go buy a new Corvette. This is something we desperately need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to say something? You can say something. Lieutenant Domingo is coming up.
I'd just like to try and explain that police work is not only just patrolling, seeing us on the roads. There are a lot of other things that go into this. You have 8 police officers, 2 of them which are administration. That leaves you 6 patrol. That leaves training, policies, and everything else that goes, just the nuts and bolts of keeping the police department running. It's a lot to ask out of 8 people. So, if you're not seeing us at all times of the day, rest assured we are busy. 2 experiences that I'd just like to share with you as far as liability and safety are, I had an arrest, for instance, It was a domestic, the individual was drunk, put him in the cell, I close the cell door falls off onto me, the only patrolman working at that time. So you can imagine how awkward it was to have the prisoner in the cell and be with the cell door laying on top of me. So that, did he help you get it off? No, he didn't. He kind of just smirked at me. I wouldn't expect anything less. The other one was we had 2 arrests, and this was we had an individual in the cell. He was intoxicated, and then we had another individual that was intoxicated, and there was already one in the cell, so we had to handcuff the other one to the window that has bars on it. All right. So the one that was handcuffed to the window in the chair fell backwards and hit his head on the chair. We dodged a bullet. The town as a whole dodged a bullet. You're talking about you like to get something for your money. Well, that would have been a situation where you would have gotten nothing for your money. If that's a lose-lose. I just want to thank you guys in the committee, and my family thanks you. It's something we desperately need, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lieutenant Domingo. Mrs. Wright, I'll just take this one last one.
I just had a question for Chief Wright.
Can you come up front? Thank you. Just so people on Zoom can hear it.
Okay, and Ryder Birches Road. I was just asking, I mean, a lot of times, you know, whatever you're doing, it doesn't result in arrest. It doesn't result in citation. It doesn't result in something that you just reported. But could you ballpark for us approximately how many calls you get over the summer or over, say, a month?
We didn't have it in our report.
1,500 calls a month.
1,500 calls a
There
month.
have been 2,000 in some reports.
Right.
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to state that if you do have the agenda, you will see that further down, we're going to be discussing a special financial town meeting location that's being proposed that this will be at the high school on September 29th. So please make sure you come out and let us know what you think, because we cannot move forward without your approval. So it's up to you. You've heard the presentation. It will be online. Am I correct, Mrs. Dillon? You're going to be putting on the website?
Yes, I will.
The presentation is going to be on the website, including Kelly's document. We are also having another presentation on Saturday. That will be at the townhouse. So if you want to come and hear the same thing, maybe you'll have further questions, come to the townhouse on Saturday at 2 o'clock. And there is another one scheduled for Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, and I believe that will also be at the townhouse. So that's where we stand right now. I want to thank the, did you want to say something, Mr. May? Oh, I didn't see your hand up. I'm sorry. Mr. May wants to say something. Yes.
I just wanted to publicly thank the committee. Every member of that committee been diligently working on the best interest of the town. They've been doing it for the dime, and I want to thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Walter.
Well, Madam President, if you could allow me to speak as a member of the public. Chairman,
Yes.
for a second. So one thing that happens in a rural town like this is people say, and the reason I'm not speaking as chair because it's outside of what we do here, that we may or may not need a police department. I have guns. We can do this. We take care of this. So I've been an NRA instructor for over 30 years. I'm well versed on the law. I know all the components of what you need to defend yourself in a court of law if you justifiably shoot somebody or if you unjustifiably shoot people. And about 13 years ago, my door rang at 10 o'clock at night. If anybody knows where I live, I'm out on Route 6, kind of freaky. You can't really walk there. It's kind of, you really have to deliberately go there. And I look out to the people. This before I was with my wife, it was with another girl I was dating, so if she's still listening, she'll be in trouble. But anyway, there was a gentleman at the door.
No, sit. I'm all done.
Named Ted, black biker jacket, which I don't have any issue with that. Fatigues, 10 o'clock at night, wanted to come in and use my phone. It seemed a little odd to me, right? What goes off in my head when I see those things is, this is how it would happen, right? This is how it happened. So I said, what do you need the phone for? He says, well, I got to go to my grandmother's house. And at my grandmother's house, I usually pick my sister up from work. And I think it was a Sunday night or something. And I said, all right. I said, well, I'll call your grandmother for you. I said, what's the number? He said, I don't really remember the number. I said, all right, well, you're going to come into the phone, but you don't know the number. It all was very, very strange to me at that point. So what did I do? I told him, he says, car broke down. It's over across the street. I think Marty's was still over there at the time. And he says, I'm over there in that parking lot. And I think Henry had moved in there. So he says, over in that parking lot. So we'll go back to your car. I'm going to call the police. They're going to come down to help you out. When I called the police, I got the dispatcher. It was a female. I couldn't tell you exactly who it was. And I described the person, and she knew who it was. And it was all legit. It was not a bad guy. He just looked a little strange. That's all there really was to it. But I had a choice at that point in time to go out and defend my family and do what could be seen as being right, but I actually would have violated all the tenets of what you're supposed to do when you're in a situation like that. You're not a cop, you can't do those things. So people think, well, if somebody comes to my property, I'm going to shoot him. We've got to be prepared with about 100 grand of legal bills, because that's what's coming down the pike, whether you're right or wrong, and you think that you can just do what you want, you really can't. I don't hesitate for a minute. My wife knows this. I tell her when I'm out of town, before COVID, I used to travel a lot. I don't travel much anymore. But I said, if you hear a noise, call the police. That's what it is. That's what I'm paying them for. They will come out, and in about 2 seconds, the problem is done, even if there was somebody in your house. I don't want her to be scared. I don't want anybody to be scared. And even though I'm getting older by the day, we're fairly young. We have a lot of elderly people in town who do need police to do things and come by when they're a little nervous or drive by. Hey, I'm going to be out of town for the weekend. Can you just make a couple of extra passes by my house? That's what police do, particularly in a community like this. And that's what we do. We live in a society. We live in a community. Police department is part of that. And if we think that they shouldn't be here, well, you're really living in the wrong place, because you should be on a desert island somewhere. Because, I have no children, and I pay a hell of a lot of money for school every year. I live on Route 6. I don't need public works. What do I need? Police, that's it. And I pay a lot of taxes just to get the police. And again, $138, $140 will make a little bit more of my house. That is a drop in the bucket for what you get out of these guys. And to provide them with a place where they should be, they're not looking for a Taj Mahal. As a matter of fact, that is a minimum standard building. I've built a lot of them, and that is a very basic building. It's really not a lot to ask, and that's all I have to say. I appreciate that, Madam President.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to take a brief intermission. I know that Chief Brayton has the plans for the proposed building. If the people here would like to take socially distancing, the time to look at it, we will do that. It will be in the presentation that Mrs. Dillon is going to be posting on the website for the people that are on Zoom. Thank you. Could I get a motion?
I'd like to make a
Second. Mr. Moreau moved that motion, and Mr. Stone seconded that motion. Mrs. Dillon?
Yes, Heidi Rogers?
Aye.
Chris Stone?
Aye.
Bob Moreau?
Aye.
Cheryl Hawes?
Aye.
And Denise DeFranco?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
So I don't know if you want to come and put it up here.
Yeah.
I'll step aside. Yeah.
Can you move that out?
I'm good, thank you. How's things with you? Same old. Yep. I'm going to ask people to wrap up so we can get back to, we still have a full agenda. Thank you. How are you?
Great, yourself?
I'm good, thank you.
I happened to notice that you had the conservation.
Yes,
here.
yes,
Should I-
Mrs. Dillon asked for, there's a letter in your check. We just want to recognize you.
Oh, you don't need me
No,
to do anything for
no,
that?
no.
Okay,
We just want to recognize you, and Mrs. Dillon let us know.
it's pretty easy to ask for money.
There it is. And it's also, I believe, yes, the fall roadside cleanup. We're gonna, and that is October.
17th?
Okay.
I don't see how anybody.
I don't really need anything from the council.
Okay, but just to let people know that they
Well,
can
that's
do
what we
that.
want to try to do is just get the word out.
I
however
seen it
we can.
on Facebook, so.
Yeah.
What happens is.
I think Kathy's gonna really start pumping that out shortly.
You decide you don't want to do it.
They should, they can see it on the website.
And I have nothing.
Sue will email blast it whenever I
Okay.
want her to.
All right, and they
So I
should
asked Sue, I
contact,
said
they'll have
maybe
all the
you put it
contact
on
information
the website.
by getting in touch with if they want to help out.
Yeah, and it's gonna be worked out the same way at the
And
fairground.
it, but it looks
Saturday,
better.
you know,
This is
anytime it's
how,
come on by.
get the, some of the,
Want us to
we get some
give you a
things like some
location,
people
well,
will,
if you wanna just bring your
like
trash.
if Lynn Ryder
Yeah,
goes
well, I'm gonna
on,
give us a couple of dumpsters. Lou's gonna give us one for e-waste. We're gonna take
Oh, good.
No, it's okay.
It's kind of a mini
oh,
version.
you said how?
Stop by, we get t-shirts.
Yes.
and
Oh,
stuff.
good. Well, I've been walking, I'm like, okay, I know exactly where I'm looking.
Get these facts
One
and
is
some of the
weather,
photos.
Yeah.
of course, right?
You're pointing to a red, and I'm like, that doesn't look red on my
We
screen.
start leaves going
So-
everywhere.
See, I see plenty. I pick up as I go along, and it's,
Dunkin' Donuts stuff,
oh,
and then
yes, and the same spot every day.
I live like one nip away from the liquor store, and about a big map away from the goddamn McDonald's.
Yeah, well, I can't either.
Have a good night.
I didn't know that.
Hi, how you doing? I'm good, thanks.
Yeah. It's, go ahead, sir.
The basketball court.
Oh.
They were a good example of what I'm not.
They would have been.
If we could do it.
I'm going to call the meeting back to order. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yep. 8 and 9 under.
And move to this point and go to 8, 9, and 1. So that,
8, 9, and 1.
yes, I just added 1 because I thought. Thank you. We are back in session.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to move under.
Oh, you got to unmute. Wait, Ms. Hall, wait a minute. We have Mrs. Hawes, Ms. Hawes is unmuting. Okay.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to move from under new business to old business, or above old business,
Right,
to
at
above
this
old
point in time.
business. The special financial town meeting location, number 1. Number 8, conservation committee.
No, the police building committee request. Yes.
Yep.
I thought you said 8 and 9.
Is she on?
This isn't the.
Cheryl, unmute.
It echoes.
Yeah, so you're sitting next to Denise?
Yep.
I can probably hear you through Denise's.
Okay, so Cheryl mutes. Okay. All right, so
let's try it. Try it
Ms.
again.
Hawes was making a motion to move to this point in time, the special financial town meeting location, the police building committee request for a special financial town mailing, and approval of funds for the survey of the proposed land donations from the fire department. So we moved that forward while some of the police building committee members are still here.
Alrighty.
Cheryl made the motion and Heidi seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. Mrs. Dillon.
Heidi Rogers,
Aye.
Chris Stone, Bob Moreau. Bob Moreau?
He said aye.
Okay, thank you. I didn't hear him. Cheryl Hawes
Aye.
and Denise DeFranco.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so the first is it vibrating? It is. Can you mute yourself? Okay. The first one is the special financial town meeting location. As I mentioned previously, it has been recommended that we move it to the high school, and Mr. Boyden is the town moderator, and he is able to do that. You have within your packet his letter to move it on. It says September 22nd, but I believe the meeting is going to be September 29th. Move it to the high school.
Do I need to unmute to make that motion?
Can you hear Heidi if she says it without unmuting?
Try it, Heidi.
Try Heidi, nice and loud.
Move the microphone.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great. Thank you.
We're going to move the microphone.
I'll make a motion to hold a special financial town meeting on September 29th at Pontiac High School.
Second.
Discussion. That was seconded by Mr. Stone.
Thank you.
Discussion. Hearing none. All in, Mrs. Dillon.
Heidi Rogers,
Aye.
Chris Stone,
Aye.
Bob Moreau.
Aye.
Thank you. Cheryl Hawes
Aye.
and Denise DeFranco.
Aye.
Thank you.
Number 8 under new business is the Police Building Committee request for a special financial town mailing, a financial town meeting mailing. At the last Police Building Committee meeting, they discussed having a mailing go out to inform people of the upcoming financial town meeting. And Kelly, I asked how much that would cost.
We looked into it, we think it'll cost approximately $850, well worth it to inform everybody.
It would cost, according to Kelly, it would cost around $850 to send out a mailing to everyone in town.
Is this going to be like a postcard?
It's a letter form, so that's what we thought. A postcard wouldn't have enough information. We wanted to, okay, and Mr. Walsh has agreed to, Mr. Walsh has agreed.
And we do bulk mailings all the time. It's actually cheaper, the letter than a postcard, believe it or not.
I'll make a motion to approve the police station building committee's request for a townwide mailer concerning the September 29th special financial town meeting.
Second.
Who seconded it? Mr. Moreau seconded. Discussion. Hearing
So that-
none. Mrs. Dillon.
Denise,
Yes.
this is Bob Boyden. I tried to hit the button, raise my hand on the last motion for a couple of reasons. So first is I wrote a letter that said move the meeting to the 22nd, on the 22nd to the Pontiac High School. I am perfectly fine with it's the 29th. Don't think there's any official reaction required there. Or, it's just, that's okay with me. I do have a concern, is that under the current restrictions from the governor, good, bad, or ugly, or indifferent, I think the public gathering limit is 15. So my intention in saying that the meeting had to be held at the high school was to try and provide the best possible environment for social distancing. But I don't think there's anything out there that says we can have more than 15 people in that room.
Actually,
And so-
Mr. Boyden, I did receive an email just today stating that if we have anything approved for a larger group, that we would need to, we can contact the Department of Health and they would assist us if we felt we needed them.
Okay, all good with me. I just wanted to raise the question because, you guys call a meeting, I just run it, right? So,
Yeah,
but I don't want, you know, me or the council to be at risk for doing something outside the current guidelines.
I agree. Thank
As
you.
long as you've covered that, I very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, it just so happened I got an email on that today. So thank you. We have a motion for the mailing,
Okay,
and it's been seconded. Did we have any further discussion?
Yes, I have a question.
We also looked at, we have a lot of people who own land with no residents on it. We would not be sending it to them because generally speaking, you have to live somewhere.
Yep.
So if you own land here, you either have a second floor in Gloucester, so you would get it anyway, or you live somewhere else, which means you most likely go somewhere else, they would be attending it anyway.
Okay.
So I wanted to be clear on that. And also.
Wait, let me just get that part out.
I heard
Kelly was, you heard, okay.
Yes.
So everybody on, thank you, okay. Go ahead.
The thing was, I was gonna discuss with Mark, the whole point of a public hearing like that is you have to advertise a certain way. And I'm gonna discuss with Mark, because we're sending a mailer to every household, do we still need to advertise in, twice, 2 weeks?
Yes.
In, the newspaper, because when
Yes.
we did this another time, we had gotten some indication from the state that we didn't, so that would actually pay for a good portion of your mailing.
I didn't think we did. That's what I was gonna ask.
My opinion is I would err on the side of putting in the paper because there's always those people that, you know, not all US mail gets to everyone's home.
Okay.
And then if you have a problem, I mean, it's cheaper, yes, nice to do what you're doing, but I think you gotta go by what the law says as well and advertise it in the paper because it only takes, you know, one person to put a monkey wrench in the whole situation. Any notice.
All right, I asked because the ad has to be placed on Monday and I don't want
Yeah.
to spend money if we don't need to.
Yeah, I mean,
Did you
I think that's the easiest way to do it.
Okay.
Did you hear that, Mrs. Dillon?
I did.
Thank you. So now, Mrs. Dillon, if you would take the roll call.
Sure. Heidi Rogers,
Aye.
Chris Stone,
Aye.
Bob Morrell,
Aye.
Cheryl Hawes,
Aye.
Denise DeFranco.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then the next one is approval of funds for the survey of the proposed land donation from the fire department. I do have something here. It says the South Forester Fire Department is donating land for the new police building because only a portion of that land is being donated and not the entire plot. A survey will need to be completed. The surveyor will need to provide a complete property description for this piece of donated property. The property description is necessary in order to execute a quitclaim deed from the South Forester Fire Department. Without appropriate property description, the deed would lack proper legal authority. So could I have a motion in the positive so then we can discuss?
I don't have it on the agenda, I'm not sure exactly how to word that.
It's number 9.
Then I have my glasses.
All right.
Oh.
You want me to read it?
I can do it. I'll make a motion to approve funds for the survey and proposed land donation from the South Gloucester Fire Station for the purposes of the new police station.
Second.
Mrs. Dillon, did you hear that?
I did, Heidi. Yep, to approve the funds and,
And it was seconded by Cheryl.
yeah, I got that. Let's see.
Discussion. Do you- What, we do not have an, we're attempting to get an estimate at this time. Have you had any contact, Mr.? No. I did reach out, the gentleman who had done the survey for the property prior to this, I reached out to him to see whether or not he would be able to do it, thinking he's already got part of it done. And also, I'm hearing that it's harder now to get it done in a short period of time. So he was looking into that. Yes.
Yes.
Mr.
Surveys are around $2,000. In fact, right now, most surveys are about 6 to 8 weeks behind. I'm working with a surveyor now. I have another question though.
Can you hear Mr.
He's
Moreau?
muffled. I heard that he has a, no, not too good.
No, can you hear me now?
Oh, I can. Thank you.
Okay, all right. The average, I said, the average survey is about $2,000. And right now, surveyors are pretty well booked up, anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks before they get started on them. Also, I have a question concerning this survey. Is this survey just for the portion of the property that's going to be deeded to the town?
Yes,
Okay,
yes. And the surveying company is in town
is in town. Is this,
that I reached out to.
So do you want a cap on this, or, I mean,
I-
do we need it?
Well, if
open-ended?
it's-
I have no idea.
I think a cap would be appropriate. If it's over the 5,000, then it has to go up to bid.
Right.
So,
So do you want me to amend the motion to say up to 5,000? I don't.
oh, I don't think it,
know,
let's, I would not say 5,000.
Well,
Right.
no, what Denise was saying was that
Right.
if
Right.
it did go
What-
over 5,000, then it.
Well, then we have
Right.
to, then we have to,
Right.
can I make another?
Right.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Moreau has something to say.
Yes, quite frankly, even if you use a surveyor in town, it's still gonna be 6 to 8 weeks. That will be after the period of time when we have the vote on this property. So why don't we wait until the vote is done? We know we have the vote of the town that we're gonna do this building before we do the survey. Let's wait until after the vote. That would make sense, rather than
I
putting all this
understand.
aside now.
What are the thoughts of the council?
I think we should move forward.
Cheryl is saying that she thinks we should move forward with this motion.
I want to know what Gordy thinks.
I could understand, I overheard that.
Oh, I know. Bob Moreau was asking if we should wait to see if it's approved.
Before we
to
do the
approve
survey.
Funds for the survey.
It's gonna be 6 to 8 weeks before you get a surveyor in there.
It's approved. On the other hand,
You're
it's
saying
not
yourself
having
down.
to spend the money, it doesn't, it's not going to get to this one.
Okay,
So if the money was approved, it does get approved. These would be.
We'll be that far.
and we
ahead.
need it to get the deed, the quick
Yeah.
claim
Right.
deed.
Right, so if it's approved, maybe the following week, we could do the survey and we could get the line. If we wait till the end of the month, that's probably what, 3 weeks anyway to lose.
Right.
We don't have to spend the money. He doesn't do his job.
Well, that's true. So
Oh,
you want to just leave it open-ended like that, or?
well, because if it's over a certain amount, it's gonna have to come back to us.
Automatically, right.
There's a question from Catherine, how much was spent on surveying the other location? I'm not sure what other location you mean.
Or we only did one, and it's right, the location right across from the town hall.
I'm gonna, I mean, I go by memory, it was 3,000, 35, 30,000, somewhere around there.
3,000 to 3,500. It was a larger property that was surveyed, is what I'm being told.
Did that include maps as well? Because maps are always like.
Yes. Yeah. It was quite a while.
And it included maps.
Couple maps are usually about 500 or more.
Catherine, that also included maps. So,
It has to be recorded.
so
Okay, and where are the funds going to come from?
contingency? Contingency.
And we have enough
Be
left?
honest, once this is approved, you can roll all of these costs into the cost of the.
Right.
into the bond.
I just
So you pay it
initially
and then
pay
you
for
can
it, okay,
reimburse
so it'll
yourself.
come from the bond.
Into the bond.
You're gonna have to do the survey because you can't take the property without the survey. When you need the survey for the quick claim deed, because the quick claim deed is the easiest way to transfer a property. Families do it all the time, parents to their children, because it's free. There's gonna be no tax stamp, so there's gonna be no fees, no taxes owed to the state. So once he gets the surveyor gets the meets and bounds done, gets the description done, gives it to us, we put it in a deed, and then the owners sign it over, no, the South Forster Fire Department will then sign it over to the town of Forster. Then the town of Forster owns that one footprint of that property. It's very simple, and that's the end of it. And then, so it's probably good to vote tonight to approve it, and then they can at least get out to the person and say, can you schedule us maybe the first week of
Right.
March? And it's over with. But we can't do anything without a deed. So even if it gets approved in September and you don't have a survey, we can't transfer
Not
the
much.
property over. Nothing can go forward until it's deeded to the town.
Thank you.
I'd like to move the question.
Okay, question's been moved. Mrs. Dillon?
Heidi Rogers,
Aye.
Chris Stone,
Aye.
Bob Moreau,
Aye.
Cheryl Hawes,
Aye.
and Denise DeFranco.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate those being moved forward because then if the police building committee wants to leave, they can.
I was gonna sneak out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to old business, we have the recreation field update. Mr. Stone, do you have anything to add?
They're working on,
They're working on it and they used it.
waiting for Jack.
It-
They have used it.
They used it.
They used it.
Wait,
She
hang
put
on.
it in sugar sink. We got the.
There's a estimate in Sugar Sync. I linked it to the agenda that's in there.
You say that.
I don't know what to tell you on that one. It's there.
I think I did.
Agendas.
Okay.
Well, it's in there, the Sugar Sync, just look under, hold on, I'll tell you exactly what to look under. Because there's a lot in there.
I'm not proficient enough to go into Sugar Sync while I'm on Zoom.
I
He just saw it. So the quote is 36,000.
For what?
The work at the rec field.
For
To-
should they get
for
ADA
the
compliant?
compliance with
To make it ADA compliant?
the accessibility, parking and bleaching.
And how much?
$36,000.
800. 36,000.
36,000?
Question if you, we questioned it a little bit, Mike and I, and Mike reached out to him to ask, to see if he could clarify a couple of things. So there's that.
I
and
thought this was gonna be less than 5,000.
Part of that, well, the engineer, there was a.
So we can't
engineer-
even vote on this. It has to go out.
Well, I have to talk to Mark about that. I mean, I don't think
You're not paying
you
36,000.
have to go out to bid in this case because it's, I mean, if you had it and it was reasonable, that you thought it was reasonable, he's already a contractor of a $400,000 project, it would be an add-on, but because we're questioning it in its entirety, then we have to like look at it, kind of go back and forth with him and see. Mike sent him an email asking for some.
Can we table this until the,
We're gonna have to, I suppose, but again, the project can't be complete, this work is done. So-
Yes.
I thought some of that he had to redo on his own because
I
it got
think this
messed
is,
up.
I think this is stuff that was never included in the original.
The ADA.
There's stuff that wasn't included, but we're adding it on because it should have been
There's
included.
no way, no way.
So-
So-
it should be 36,000.
for people
More
that,
parking spaces, the bleachers, and it looks like in here that he is trying to do the sidewalks, but we decided to go a different way with that. That was like 12,000. So where we decided to do the math that we discussed, Chris. So, and in here is also an engineer for 5,600, which we needed those plans. So that's, and he did a lot of plans and map work that we needed to get approved at the state level. So that I think is legitimate, and I think we should purchase those plans, etc. We had to provide them to the state. That's the 5,600. Mike the planner, Mike, and Janelle felt that that was a reasonable expense for what he had done to get this far. The rest of it, we have called to I just put it in there so you could see it. I don't know what we could possibly do.
I think you're right, we should table this, because none of us has enough information
Right.
about any of this
Yeah.
to do.
So I would accept at this time a motion to table this update to the next council meeting.
You all have this in sugar, so take your time, peruse it.
Look, I don't find
And
it.
we'll talk about it.
I'll make a motion to table
Not perusing that.
the
document.
discussion on the recreation fields.
Heidi Rogers made a motion to table the update on the recreation
Second.
fields. And Cheryl Hawes seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Dillon?
Heidi Rogers,
Aye.
Chris Stone,
Aye.
Bob Boyden, Bob Moreau, Sion, no, Cheryl Hawes,
Aye.
and Denise DeFranco.
Aye.
All right.
Okay. Moving on, we have resignation from the Board of Canvassers member. You have a letter in your packet, and I'm sorry it's echoing.
That's because Cheryl's on. I'm just going to mute her.
Thank you. It is from Denise
Witzel.
Witzel, thank you. From Denise Witzel. I have it here if you want me to read it.
I've got it up.
You have it? Okay, great.
Okay, so this is dated August 14th. Hello, Susan. I am writing to let you know I have made a decision to resign from my position with the Board of Canvassers effective immediately. I have decided to take advantage of being unemployed and continue my education in the fall semester to hopefully provide a better opportunity of finding employment. I will need to fully commit to the courses, which will consequently limit my availability for the needs of the board. I apologize for any inconvenience. I realize this responsibility will have to fall back onto the alternate and hope you will be able to find another replacement soon. Thank you for your understanding. Denise.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to accept Denise Witzel's resignation letter with regret.
Seconded by Bob Moreau.
Oh, Bob.
Discussion. I know Mr. DiPaolo is contacting Mr. Restivo. Any, Mrs. Dillon?
Thank you. Heidi Rogers,
Aye.
Chris Stone,
Aye.
Bob Moreau,
Aye.
Cheryl Hawes,
Aye.
Denise DeFranco.
Aye.
Thank you.
Our next agenda item is appointment to the planning board. We have two applicants or two letters of interest. What is the pleasure of the council?
Trying to find the letter. Trying to find the letter. Yeah.
1 second. Do you need? Okay. I have,
I'd like to make it, do you have to read both of them?
no, I was just trying to move us along. Oh, Mr.
Downs.
Down, the planning board position.
I second.
A motion has been made to appoint Hillary Downs Fortune to the planning board, and it was made by Mr. Moreau and seconded by Ms. Hawes. Discussion. I did reach out to Hillary, and Mike Antonellis, our planner, did reach out to Hillary, and we both felt that she would be a good fit, and her letter certainly.
Looks like she has a lot to
Yeah,
bring.
she has a lot to offer. Any further discussion?
I'd just like to say, I think that her resume was fantastic. She brings new blood to the planning board, out new ideas. I think that's a plan we should have in the future as well.
Thank you. Mrs. Dillon?
Heidi Rogers,
Aye.
Chris Stone,
Aye.
Bob Moreau,
Aye.
Cheryl Hawes,
Aye.
and Denise DeFranco.
Aye.
Thank you.
Moving on. I did not see a letter for the Recreation Committee, but I understand that there is someone that was interested.
It's on the first one on Sugar Sink.
Okay.
Second one. It's a Denise, it's Denise Witzel.
Yes, I know it is.
I know.
But I didn't see the letter. So we have a person of interest, Denise Witzel, is interested in being on the Recreation Committee. I know that she's attended some of the meetings, and Tammy also would recommend her. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Denise Wetzel to the Recreation Committee.
I'll second that.
Ms. Hawes made the motion, and Mr. Morrow seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Dillon?
Heidi Rogers,
Aye.
Chris Stone,
Aye.
Bob Moreau,
Aye.
Cheryl Hawes,
Aye.
and Denise DeFranco.
Aye.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the Engineering Board request for capital funds. If you recall, we had implemented this year where capital funds, the Engineering Board, all chiefs would have to sign and agree with that. It's my understanding that they have. And yes, Ms. Russ is saying yes, and you have a copy of that signed document. Thank you. So that would be approving that money to go and to repair a truck at Moosup Valley and South Forster.
Make a motion, we approve the capital fund for the engineering board. Second that.
Chris Stone made the motion, Bob Monroe seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Dillon?
I'm just checking Sugar Sink, 1 sec. Okay. So Heidi Rogers? Did you say aye? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Said aye, yes.
Oh, thank you. Chris Stone?
Aye.
Bob Moreau?
Aye.
Cheryl Hawes?
Aye.
Thank you. And Denise DeFranco?
Aye.
Thank you.
The next item is appropriation for septic tank flow test at proposed police building site. This was brought up at our last meeting, and we overlooked it. So I have it on the agenda tonight. What is the pleasure of the council?
I make a motion that we allow
It's $500.
test for the septic system up to $1,000.
Second.
Mr. Stone made that motion. Did you hear it, Mrs. Dillon?
I did. Yep, I got it.
Thank you. And Heidi Rogers seconded. Any further discussion?
I know we had overlooked this at the last meeting,
Yep.
but we're late now, I think we should have also included this.
That, oh, test the well? I thought the well had just recently been tested. Oh,
I think that should happen.
okay.
We could.
But, and it's not on the agenda, so we can't. So I can put it for the next agenda if you'd like. Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Heidi Rogers?
Aye.
Chris Stone?
Aye.
Bob Moreau?
Aye.
Cheryl Hawes?
Aye.
Denise DeFranco?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to our next one is paving bid approval. I do not have a copy of that.
When I was reading that, I don't know, the way it says it on the agenda, it sounds like it's approving a bid, but what I saw in Sugar Sink was like a request to send out an RFP.
Yes.
Nope, and there's also a bid sheet in Sugar Sink, and it shows there's 8 different people who did go out for bid, so.
Okay, so what Heidi was saying is that when she clicked on the agenda or looked in Sugar Sink, it was just the request.
It
But-
was because that was
Did we
on,
see-
that was on Monday, and I just got it today because we opened the bids today. That's why it's in.
So we got a copy of the bids today.
Oh.
So, and Mrs. Dillon is saying that it is in Sugar Sink, but you have a copy of it. I do not have a copy of it, so I will.
All right, I'm sorry, Sue, I.
That's okay. No, it was late in there, and I linked it to the agenda.
I know, I didn't take it. So there's a recommended bidder.
Yeah, with this, I'll make a motion that we approve the DPW director's recommendation for Allstate as the bid for paving.
Allstate Asphalt.
I'm just looking at the top where it says.
Yep.
So to be clear on this, they weren't the lowest bid, they were the second lowest out of the 8. Currently, they've been doing some great work in the last several years for us, and what we did was we priced out the basics, so because it's really hard to tell with the way that it's bid, we took the average to see what we were looking at for total cost in excess of the lowest bid if we went with them, and it was about $2,000 to $2,500 for the whole projects that currently are on, target. So based on the very good work that they've done in the past couple of years.
And we don't have to accept the bid from the lowest bid. Okay. So I don't know if everyone on Zoom could hear what Ms. Russ was saying, is that the Allstate Asphalt was not the lowest bidder, but they have done work for us in the past, and it's been quality work, if you will. So
It's the second lowest bidder out of the 8.
it's the second lowest bidder out of the 8.
Maybe approximately $2,500 additional for the whole project. So it was, he evaluated that, felt it was worth it.
Okay.
I'll second their motion.
So it was, the motion was made by Heidi and it was seconded by Bob Moreau.
Thank you.
Discussion. It is for NR, which I'm, oh, okay.
And then based on the project cost, if there's money left over, they'll just extend on for, I think he was talking about the possibility of Windsor Road today, but those
Okay.
specifically. So they-
Thank you. All right, so moving on, Mrs. Dillon.
Sure. Heidi Rogers?
Aye.
Chris Stone?
Aye.
Bob Moreau?
And he said aye.
Thank you. Cheryl Hawes?
Aye.
And Denise DeFranco?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 10, it's the Conservation Committee. They're having a fall roadside cleanup on October 17th, and there's been many Facebook postings regarding that, and Mrs. Dillon is going to be sending out a email blast in regards to that. If you want to help out, they'll have contact information on that. But we also wanted to recognize the fact that David Rathbun had reached out to Electric Boat. And there is a letter in your packet, and they gave a donation of $500 to the Foster Conservation Committee. If you want to read the letter. I have it here. Do you want to unmute yourself?
I guess I better.
You probably can talk right into mine.
There I go. Yeah, I'm right. Okay. Dear Commission, the Employees Community Service Association of Electric Boat Corporation at the Quonset Point facility would like to make a donation towards your organization on behalf of the employees of Quonset Point who are ECSA members. ECSA member, Mr. David Rathbun, solicit us in support of the Earth Day celebration. Through the generosities of employees who have weekly deductions taken from their paychecks to assist our local nonprofit community, we're able to afford assistance to wonderful organizations as yourself impacting your local community. If you have questions or require additional information, do not hesitate to contact me. And he gave the numbers. Sincerely, Blake Laverdiere, ECSA Chairperson.
That was more, that was to recognize the Forester Conservation and Mr. Rathbun for seeking out that. And certainly we want to thank the electric boat for making that generous donation. The last item on our agenda is the town council meeting calendar. We have our meeting tonight. We have a meeting on September 12th and September 15th. Our next scheduled meeting would be September 24th. We also have the special financial town meeting on September 29th. What would be the pleasure of the council as in regards to the September 24th meeting? Would you like to continue with that, or would you like to make a motion?
The 12th and the 15th are going to be
The police building presentation, hybrids
just
and just, right.
If anything came up, oh no, what's today? Today's the 10th.
Today's the 10th. Our next scheduled meeting would be the 24th.
I don't know, is there anything?
The only things that I have is the well testing, whether we want to discuss that, and the recreation, right, and then the recreation update. I know, I'm not looking at you. I just know we think the same thing.
Let's go to the 8th of October.
And then the next meeting would be October 8th, which we're having public hearings on several ordinances.
I'll make a motion, because everybody's waiting and nobody's doing it. I'll make a motion to eliminate the September 24th town council.
Second.
That motion was made by Mrs. Rogers and second by Mr. Stone. Certainly, if we need a meeting, we can hold the meeting.
Right.
But any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none.
Heidi Rogers,
Aye.
Chris Stone,
Aye.
Bob Moreau,
Aye.
Cheryl Hawes,
Aye.
and Denise DeFranco.
Aye.
Thank you.
I will take a brief break for executive session. I see Joanne is on, so you're all set.
I don't have the language. That's what I was trying to go.
Oh,
For
the language for
the
executive. She's gonna send it.
She's not on her computer.
She's not on her computer.
I'll try to.
Send it to Kelly's.
Okay.
Heidi, she's sending it.
I can tell. We're taking a brief,
All right, she's sending it.
yes, we have to take, she's sending it to Kelly's email.
So Kelly wants to answer it, right?
Let Kelly, you want Kelly to go on to her email?
Yeah.
Kelly, can you come over and get on your email so we can have this motion?
I've done it in my email over there.
I have to go on,
I put it together with those extra.
Joanna, wake up.
hi, Joanna.
You look like you were sleeping.
I'll be texting you as soon as we close, like the minute she closes.
My,
Have to come by.
that's my granddaughter. They're making cookies. She's sitting waiting for cookies. She can't some?
They're out of my-
No.
Anytime
no.
soon.
You know,
Yep, I'm set to give you a break there. I had to sync my system.
No, it was during our meeting.
She's watching, huh?
She's waiting for the cookies to come out.
I have not been able, I have not had.
Going anyway.
Two of my kids are now in college.
There you go.
They'll care about they don't care about it.
She sent it.
You should see mine. They're terrible.
Okay, can you read it from here and then I'll go back into
Can you hear, Dylan, can you hear Heidi if she reads it?
She'll hear me now.
Yep, she'll hear you now.
I move to go into executive closed session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-42-4 for the reasons stated, and Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5 for,
Litigation.
okay, for the purpose of litigation pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42-6-5A2.
Heidi made, and it's been seconded by Mr. Stone.
Thank you. Heidi Rogers.
Aye.
Chris Stone.
Aye.
Bob Moreau. Cheryl Hawes.
Aye.
And Denise DeFranco.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.